Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Louis de Souza here. Today is Monday, March the 18th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York. It's 5 a.m. in Los Angeles. It's noon in London, and Sydney, Australia is at 11 p.m. at night. Whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm very happy about one thing. Last Wednesday through Friday, we couldn't live stream because of issues that Facebook was experiencing, but we're back! We're back live streaming again, and we see people starting to filter into the room and so forth. So life is good, Louis, just because we can live stream again. Isn't it nice to have little things to celebrate?
Well, it's always nice to have video. I like audio, but I also find video is fantastic. I think when YouTube came out, it really expanded horizons massively. You know, when you're listening to somebody and you can see them at the same time, I think it has a massive added benefit to the whole.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
whole experience. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about. Well, this actually kind of ties into sort of an ongoing discussion that many of us here on the show have had about the role that the internet has played in social lives. That's why we call it social media. And when you don't have that video component, you miss out on body language. You miss out on the subtle signals that you can't see without having that video. Of course, it would be even better if we could also have feelio and smellio and all that kind of thing, tastio, but
we will get there. We will get there.
2 out of 5 is better than 1 out of 5. That's the way I look at it. 2 is always better than 1. So, no, not really. But no, it's true. You get much more data when you're looking at the person as well as hearing them. So, yeah, good stuff to have the video. So I presume, and you asked me before the podcast about weekends, and I presume you had a great one because you always have a great weekend. But how are you doing?
Of course. I'm trying to remember what I
did. Well, you realize there are many people who say that same thing, but with a different context. What they mean is, I can't remember because I drank too much or I partied too much.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. I forget about that.
That's right.
I do actually drink alcohol, but it's so minuscule, it's probably not worth mentioning.
And no, I gave that up. I gave that up in my 20s, actually, believe it or not. I was a pretty heavy partier, too, and I just, nope, not doing this anymore. Yeah.
Why did you feel you had to give it up completely?
It was part of a larger package of not only giving up drinking, giving up partying, giving up the friends that I was hanging out with because I wanted to change my entire lifestyle. I was not happy. I was not enjoying what I was doing. I felt like my life was going nowhere. And so, I mean, if I had known about law of attraction, I would have said, I want to attract a different life, which I did, by the way. I just didn't realize that's what I was doing. But no, I somehow... I guess this is another one of those inner being things where you're getting the inside message and in my case, not realizing it. But I just knew I had to make massive changes in order to get a massive change in my life. I had to just think differently. I had to focus differently. I had to have different interests, I had to change everything. And I did. And I'm glad I did. So...
Yeah, I never went down the route of excessing in any shape or form, so I never really felt I ever had anything to give up. So I was brought up, even as a youngish child, drinking wine at the table with my parents in, moderation, and it's just really continued through my whole life. But now and again, I have a little bit of alcohol, but again, I usually just take a sip of my wife's wine and then leave it at that. if it's nice, I might pour myself some. But I'm very fussy. I was brought up with a bit of a connoisseur dad, and we had loads of wine, and I can't handle plonk type
Well, from what I understand, these days it's kind of hard to go wrong because there are so many good wines out there. I mean, back in the day, there were like a small percentage that were really good, and a lot of them were just really terrible. But today, you can hardly even walk into a store and trip without finding a wine. I mean, that's a good wine. You know?
Well, I will disagree with you there.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well,
I would say our supermarket, I can't drink anything in it whatsoever.
Oh, well, I would know
wine
actually, but.
merchant.
I've been told this, but maybe it's not true. I mean, I've been told that the wine market is saturated with good wines.
For ages,
yeah, I mean, how would I know? And for that matter, why would I care? Because I don't drink wine. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you an interesting thing, because when I was in the army, we got super fit for basics, and at the end of basics, they gave you 2 free beers to celebrate and all the rest of it, and. I drank one and I was so tipsy that I knew I couldn't drink the other one, so I actually sold it for quite a fortune.
Okay. Oh, that's funny.
It was quite funny.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So let's see. What are we going to talk about today? We don't really have any questions that have come in, although anyone who's listening to the live stream who wants to ask a question or have us address something, feel free to bring it up. But in the meantime, we'll just kind of wing it and see what comes to our minds because, hey, the good news is we're talking about the law of attraction that applies to everything in our lives, whether it be, you know, what we had for breakfast or what wine we drink or whether or not we sold a beer when we were in the army. It doesn't make any difference. It's all law of attraction. So
it's interesting to see how it's law of attraction and how all the bits and pieces fit together. And, you know, a lot of people don't quite see what they call cause and effect.
Elaborate. Tell me what you mean by that, because I can see a couple possible meanings there.
So what I'm implying is somebody says, "Why did this happen to me?" That means they're not seeing what thought processes they had before that manifested that reality.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is most of us.
So, yeah, it's a lot of us a lot of the time. So. What happens when you start working with the law of attraction is you become keenly aware of thoughts and then manifestations and then thoughts and then manifestations. So as you start seeing the clarity between that, you start saying, oh, I did manifest that. And I did it then when I was thinking that. And then you start realizing that I want something and it starts manifesting quicker because you start getting the cause and the resultant effect clearer, and you start working with it and you become more conscious of it. And it starts becoming more of a ripple effect of getting more and more of what you want much quicker.
I don't remember
on subjects you have less resistance with, naturally.
I don't remember what the first couple of incidents were, but I remember the first couple times that I was able to piece that together and recognizing the feeling as surprise. Like, wow, I can actually see this sequence of events, and I think on some level I didn't really believe I'd be able to. And then when I could, I was like, this is cool stuff. Like, you can trace the whole thing. How about that?
Yeah. And it's really quite an enlightening experience when you start seeing how clearly your thoughts create your reality, and it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I see this before? And then you start saying, well, now that I understand how it works, let me start practicing it, let me start using it, let's be conscious about it. And then your life takes on a completely different dimension, and you start feeling quite different about your ability to take charge of your life, your ability to have control over it. And
for me, there was a wrestling match about that. Because on the one hand, I could tell that my thoughts were creating everything. On the other hand, I felt like I was way out of control because I'd never done any of it before. And it was just, it was a new idea that I could actually control all of this. And then on the third hand, is there a third hand? On the third hand, it was, well, how do I do it? I do it by controlling my feelings. I can't control my feelings. And then learning, I guess I can control them a little bit. But now I have to control my feelings all the time. And there's all these thoughts coming through my head. And I can't control all of them. And so many of them are, I just fell into a negative spiral so quickly it would make your head spin. So, you get both the thrill of it and you get the terror of it all at the same time, really.
And one thing I recommend that people do is you don't want to slow yourself down. So you want that kind of momentum going on, but you want it just more on the positive side. So the important thing I'm trying to emphasize here is the momentum side.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, things are coming and going quickly and you think they're spiraling out of control, that means your force that's flowing through you is quite strong.
Oh, I see.
And you don't
yes.
want to slow that down. You don't want to slow that down. So what you want to do is just turn that the focus on side more to what you want and less to what you don't want, but keep the flow going nice and fast. Because you can take drugs and really dumb yourself down and block everything out and watch stupid movies and all the rest of it just to bring yourself into I don't care kind of mode and slow everything down because you don't want to think about anything, so nothing starts manifesting or nothing much. So you want to really keep that vibration going, the flow going through you again and again. And you find that you start appreciating the good and the bad of that as well. So when you have a negative experience, you start following the rocket of desire much quicker, but you're still keeping that flow going, and it's an important understanding, a little more advanced understanding of the law of attraction to how it actually works with anybody.
It's an interesting thing that you're describing there, because one of the reasons that we meditate, for instance, is to slow all that down and to just calm down a bit.
Well, you're not really. When you're meditating, you're now stopping the mental mind rambling on, but you're now getting your vortex mind speaking to you and allowing manifestations and filling in the grid. So a lot of people think, stilling the mind, everything stops, but it doesn't. It's, you stop getting what you don't want, but you do start getting what you do want. But the flow still happens. Yeah. It's important to kind of grasp that, the cycle of how that works.
So you really never actually stop the flow. What you do is ignore it, perhaps, but you don't really stop it.
You ignore the chatter of the mind, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which generally is on subjects that you don't want.
Yes.
But once your conscious mind is chattering about what it wants, and the vortex is bringing things in, and you can hear both, and then they start synchronizing to a degree where they're both talking the same language. That's when the harmony, that's when you feel so good, and that's when your emotions light up, and you're just feeling on top of the world because you're now in sync. The thoughts are in sync with the thoughts of the vortex and the manifestation of the vortex. And things start flowing a lot nicer and clearer. But of course, then a negative thought pops up and the whole process slows down again. And so you go through the cycles. And of course, different subjects will change the focus.
Jason has a question for us. Actually, we have two questions.
Well, wasn't Jason the guy that came on live with us once upon a time in his car? I don't remember what his name was now. The guy in the car, remember?
I'm not sure. No, Jason's from Michigan.
That was Simon.
Jason's from Michigan. I'm trying to think who it was who joined us from L.A. I can't remember what his name was. But different person. I know it's a different person. I can tell you that much. So anyway, Jason says, I have a really hard time visualizing and focusing on what I really, really want. How can I be more focused?
Okay, so very, very, very...
Louis, we just lost your sound. I'm not sure what's going on there, but your sound just kind of went blippity. Let's see what's going on here. Try saying something.
Right in Spain?
Sort of. We got it a little bit. It's like you're on an old-fashioned radio, very, very treble.
I don't have anything else running on the...
It's almost like filtering went too far or something. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Zero, or is it still going wobbly?
It's not up to full volume, but it's better. Yeah. It's like, boy, I don't even know how to describe it.
Underwater.
Kind of. Not really. Well, it sounds like it's starting to clear itself up. Why don't we just go with that, and why don't you try your explanation? I'll try to mess with the volume a little bit to see if we can hear you, and we'll just kind of work through it.
So, Jason, it's a great question. And I've got to focus my thoughts on what I want. But what do I want? I have no idea.
Oh dear, this isn't
And I
working.
also don't.
It's not picking up right. Can you like reconnect your mic, disconnect it and reconnect it? Let's see if that'll clear it up, because it's in and out and all over the place. I'm not sure what's going on there, but
Let me disconnect that.
oh, that sounds much better right now.
Oh, okay. How does that sound?
Much better. You're back.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what that was
I
about.
have no
but
idea. I just touched my wires. I didn't even unplug it yet.
I know that Linda Armstrong and I have had experiences. We had them this past Friday, actually, where the electronics went out of whack. I mean, just went bonkers. And her explanation was our spiritual energy was flowing so much it was interfering with electronics. I can't disagree with that, because, I mean, we were getting some really crazy results. So, yeah. So anyway, we're back. So we'll go ahead and try again with your explanation.
Okay. So, Jason, great question. And it's a problem a lot of people have is, I now understand the law of attraction. I've got to get clear about what I want and what I think I want and where I want to go, because I know that if I'm focusing on what I don't want, I'm going to get it. So, what do I want? I'm not sure. How do I find out what I want? So one of the easiest ways of doing it, and it might sound incredibly simple, is ask the universal law of attraction, help me have greater clarity for what I want. Okay, so start at the basics. So you know what you want. You want to know what you want. Okay, and it's pretty simple. So you say, I'd really like to know greater clarity of what I want. So what happens is, you know what you don't want, which is lack of clarity, and focusing on what you don't want because you know you're going to amplify it. So now the rocket of desire is shooting into the vortex of, I want greater clarity. I really want to understand what my purpose in life is and where I'm going to go and what I want to do. So I need to put in the vortex, the non-physical, because it instantly manifests. I want to get it there first with greater clarity so that it can start manifesting into the physical universe, into my life. So the first step is just getting greater clarity in the vortex about what you want so that it can start manifesting. And it's a very, very simple answer, but it's really exactly the way it works. And it's where I began, and I still go back to that on numerous occasions. So I go back to, what do I want now? Okay, I've got all these other things now. I need to be greater clarity in where I want to go from here. So it's an ongoing process. It's not something that's going to necessarily stop, but you'll go through phases of great clarity, what you want, manifesting it, and then, I'm not quite sure what I want to do next. Because at the moment I'm busy changing one of my businesses. So in the beginning, I started off with IT, and I was an IT guru, and I worked for the Met Police and Chase Manhattan Bank and all those BBC and other companies in the UK. So I really enjoyed all that, and that was fun, and I really love IT. So that was all good. And then suddenly I thought, no, I want to change. So in about 37 years old, I just ditched all that. I was younger then. I was about 35. I ditched all that, and then I decided, no, now I'm going to do health and nutrition, and I'm going to work for myself at home. So I started 3 businesses from home. One was health and nutrition. One is to do with accommodation, and the other one is some property investment, small property portfolio which I look after. So those started running, and now I'm starting to give up my health and nutrition business. And I'm doing that quite quickly. I'm just like, no, it just doesn't feel that good anymore. So bang, out the door. Now I'm going to go into working more online and doing law of attraction chats and training and that kind of thing. So that's where I'm moving on to now. So, through the different phases that, I was sitting there for a while saying, well, I don't really want to do this anymore. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? So you get greater clarity by asking that question again and again. And you will not go wrong if you follow your passion. You will be more passionate about some subjects than others. And if you find those subjects, write them down on a piece of paper, look at them, and start focusing on how you can manifest any level of beginning to it. So it's like a grid that's sitting there, and then little lights will pop up at different parts of the grid. Hey, look at this. This is popping up. This is popping up. And then as the whole grid fills in, then you get that manifestation. But keep your eyes open because lightning may strike is my biggest advice. Keep your eyes open.
Well, I like the way you described early on there how we get distracted, because that's really what it is, isn't it? When we can't focus, it's because we're really distracted by negative thoughts or stuff we don't want, or all this other stuff that's out there, the media, all that kind of thing. We're distracted,
Facebook.
distracted. Yes, Facebook, right? LOA today.
Nosebook.
Nosebook.
That's what Abram calls it.
And it does take a while, although interestingly enough, and I want to know if you experience the same thing, I find that when the distraction lessens to the point where all of a sudden I can find myself focusing on what I want again, very often, more in the past perhaps, very often I would find myself doing that without realizing that I was back, that that the distraction was gone. And it took me a long time to realize that I'd actually gotten rid of the distraction. It just kind of everything came back. My focus improved, you know?
The other important aspect, which is prime to understanding everything, is that you can't rub out distractions. You can't rub out anything wrong that you've ever done in your life. The universe always stores everything all the time. But you can change where your focus is and what you bring into your life.
Exactly.
So don't spend a lot of time and effort trying to rub out the past, because A, it's impossible. B, the only way you really rub out the past is by focusing on the future. So just focus on the future, focus on where you want to go. And I hope that answered your question, Jason. So if you've got any more clarity you need on it, please ask. Thanks for the question.
Oh, that's very good. And we also have a second question. This one comes from Maggie. She says, can you expand on the grid, or where can I find that in a text, please?
Okay. So if you having a look at manifesting anything, let's say I want a new car. So if you want a new car, certain things have got to happen generally. Okay, one can be parachuted outside your front door because you won a prize and you didn't know about. So yeah, it can manifest that way. All right, so don't eliminate that as a possibility. But generally, what happens is you get some finances together, and then you go browsing different car places and have a look. And then what happens is you make a decision of what you want to buy and when you want to buy it, and then you go to the guy and you pay them, or you get the financing, and then you get in the car and you get all your insurance, and then you come home. So all those different pieces are part of the grid that needs to fill in, all right, for you to get your manifestation. So yes, I know a lot of people would just like the car for free and just given to them, and that's why they study the law of attraction, because it hints that there's a possibility you can get everything for nothing, and you can, basically. If you don't have any resistance, the manifestation can manifest out of anywhere. So, that's why I did bring the parachute idea into it straight away, because that's really how it works, is, it can manifest instantly for you. So the grid filling in aspect is all about you being awake and aware. So we often talk about awareness in the spiritual world. What is awareness? Awareness just means when you get that impulse that comes to you that feels good, then you follow it. Okay? And if it says, go here, do this, or pick up the phone, or look at this newspaper, or go to that ad, or go to this dealer, etc., and it feels good, and you get that little nudge to go do it, that is your little lightning that is striking. Then you go and do that. And if you go do that, if you're trusting your emotional guidance, which is your higher self guiding you to go get what you want, then you go to the right places at the right time, and you meet the right people, and you get the right price, and the right things happen. So follow, if the biggest advice I can give anybody is care intensely about how you feel. Really intensely. So you're really thinking, if I'm feeling bad, that thought you're thinking, all right, because no matter what you're doing, they're making you feel bad. It began as a thought. So the thought is heading you in the wrong direction, and your higher self is saying, I do not agree with what you were saying, what you're doing, what you're thinking. Turn around, go the other way. So if you care intensely about how you feel, you will manifest things at a far quicker rate than you've ever dreamt, because your higher self can see where the best car is for you. That is a vibrational match to what you're looking for and what you're wanting, far better than any internet search can do for you. But it might guide you to an internet search, but you've got to listen to yourself, because it can see things that you can't. It can just take in all factors that you haven't even dreamt of yet.
She says, thank you. It's giving nomenclature to the process. It's what I think of as leaving it open to the universe.
Leaving it open to the universe. So the universe wants to give you what you want. Okay? So when you say leaving it open to the universe, you're not really. The universe is saying, I'm leaving it open to you to give you whatever you want. So let's be clear about what we want, and I'll be clearer and quicker in giving you, and lower your resistance, and I'll be quicker and clearer in giving you. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't agree completely with that at all. No.
Well, there's a fine point there, and I just realized what it is as you were talking there. The fine point is, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the universe doesn't make any decisions for us. Yet so many people...
There's no assertion in an attraction-based universe. No.
And people will assert that, well, I'm leaving it to God. I'm leaving it to the universe, because the idea of God or the universe is going to take care of this for me. But what actually happens is God or the universe is waiting for you. And that's an interesting scenario, because what we have here is person X, who put out a wish. They start having doubts about it. So instead of having doubts about it, they said, well, I'll just leave it to the universe. So they're waiting for the universe to do something. The universe is waiting for them to do something. And in the process of doing that, they're letting go of their resistance. And the thing shows up. Oh, the universe figured out what was best for me. No, you just let the resistance down.
There's another great advantage of saying it's all up to the universe. You can blame them when it doesn't arrive.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. It's true. And that's exactly what so often we do. We just kind of get into that place. By the way, you talked about manifesting cars out of thin air. Steve Rowell has a great way that he stumbled upon. He literally has been trying to do that. He and his wife wanted to have an Aston Martin, and they ended, I don't remember what the exact story was, but they ended up getting an Aston Martin for free for like a week or two, something like that, because of their car was in the garage or something. I don't remember exactly.
Oh, right, yeah. They got a replacement for one.
And they ended up getting on a list of people who are known to actually follow through and do free test drives. So now all of a sudden they're being contacted by like BMW and other, top car makers saying, well, we'd like you to use our car for a weekend. So now they're getting a regular list of cars, coming through that they can use for free.
That's fantastic. It says in the Bible, I think, God appears in mysterious ways.
Yeah, that's right.
Or so it's very accurate. You may have wanted one thing, but to test drive a lot of new cars is going to be even better.
Yeah, right. That makes it tangible. That makes it real in a way that that we like. We enjoy that, right? I mean, I call it that the magic wand effect, where you wave your magic wand and just something magically appears. And, it's cool when it happens. It's fun,
It's very much like this chair I was telling you about last time. It's just fantastic.
Fill us in on it.
Well, we went to to IKEA. My wife and I, we were looking for a settee, and we weren't looking for a chair at all, but we went through the chair section, and I sat down on this chair, and I looked at it, and because I understood the law of attraction, and I already wanted to replace my existing chair, I was saying, I really like this chair. It really feels good. And I was playing with the lever and giving it a good test and running it around and appreciating it for making sure more than 14 seconds.
Yes, right.
And just going in for it. And then I completely forgot about it. My wife looked at the chair and said, yeah, it's a nice one. We should get it at some stage. But our focus is on getting a settee, not your chair today. So we came back, and my wife saw it on the internet that somebody was selling on Facebook, just one of the local groups, this chair, and it was brand new. It was literally just kept in the garage, didn't want it anymore, and they were selling it for 20 quid. So I I went next door to, just round the corner from my house, picked it up, gave them the 20 quid, and I have a brand new chair.
Worth quite a bit more than 20 too, I might add.
Sorry?
Worth a lot
instead
more.
of about 300 quid, I only paid 20. Yeah. I mean, but I had no resistance to it. I wasn't thinking, I must get it. And, I was just thinking about the settee, really. I just knew that I should play the appreciation game, and then something might happen. And it often manifests through my wife. As I've mentioned before, at work they call her the witch, because whatever she wants tends to manifest. Yeah. So
my God.
Got this magic wand where she can just manifest things. It's like the other day I said to my wife, I really want a chopping block for the wood because I love barbecues and I love the old smoky chopping wood, and it's just my thing. So, I want a nice, solid, big chopping block. She said, no worries, I'll manifest it for you. Great, I know you're good at that. So I left her. And they were building a new house next to a nursing home, and they came around to her and they said, well, we need to chop down your tree. It's dead, and we'll chop it down for free, but it's in the way of our building. So, and my wife said, yeah, quite happy that you do that. And I would really like a chopping block out of it. So I said, what dimensions do you want? And she gave me the exact dimensions. And I've got this beautiful chopping block outside there. I just rocked up to the work when I was picking her up, put it in my boot, and drove it back home. Huge, solid piece of wood. Lovely, just perfect height, everything for chopping wood. It's just manifested instantly next day. I mean, it's just...
That's crazy.
There's a reason they call her a witch.
I guess so, yeah. And it sounds like she's the good witch of the north, which is even better. But
I enjoy that TV program, The Good Witch. There's some very, very good feelingness about the way they've presented it. There's something about it. I don't know if you ever watched an episode, but
I have not. No, but yes. With a title like that,
TV program.
How can it go bad? Hey, I wanted to. You also talked about something a moment ago that I wanted to really bring up. I'm going to talk about it in terms of ways that other co-hosts have described it. That is the idea of following that impulse, or what they call inspired action.
Yes,
and I wonder if you can just kind of elaborate on that a little bit, because that is a little bit of a source of confusion. The idea that, well, first of all, I think most of us, when we first get exposed to law of attraction, we do think it's a magic wand, or that there's a witch attached or something, but that there's, there's some sort of, magic going on there. And only after a while do we begin to realize that it's actually part of the fabric of our everyday lives. But it can be a little confusing trying to figure out, well, when do I take action? Because we get so many of the gurus saying, well, including Abraham, don't do so much. Don't do as much doing. Do more of the feeling. Do more of the thinking. So when do you do? Talk about when do you do and how do you know when's the right thing to do again? I mean, you touched on it before, but give us some more on that.
The first thing that's important to understand is you only manifest that which you a vibrational match to.
Right.
So the first thing to understand about that statement is that it's the next logical step to manifest it. It's not a big jump. There's not a big gap of doubt. Will I get the job? When I get the job? Is it the right person to marry? Is it the wrong person? That means you're far away from your goal. All right? So the gap is not small. Then the next thing, I just wanted to bring that in first, but then you need to understand the method of how it works. Step one is you ask, I want something.
Mm-hmm.
Then step two is it's instantly manifested in your vortex. So you've got this non-physical cloud sitting, was it over your left shoulder?
I don't know. It depends whether it's the devil or the angel. I mean, really.
Okay, so non-physically you've got this big ball of everything you want, and that's called your vortex. So when you know what you don't want, people are rude to me. Wouldn't it be nice if they were nicer to me? Now goes into the vortex as an instantly is manifested. So the process is important to understand. Number one, you know what you don't want, and then you have a better idea what you do want. Both of those are step one. Okay? When you know what you don't want, you have a better idea what you do want. What you do want goes into the vortex, which is step two. And then step three is getting it out of the vortex, getting that car out of the vortex into the bank, into your life into the manifesting physically. So you've got to understand those 3 steps. So you were asking me about how to do it. The important thing to do, how to do it, is to raise your vibration to be in sync with what you want. All right? And that means, I don't want to say this, but eliminating doubt. Why is it not here yet? When am I going to get it? I don't have the money for it. I'm not worthy of it, etc. So you won't get it if you've got those feelings and those thoughts. It's not going to manifest. All right? So when they tell you, care more about how you're feeling, it's so important, because how you're feeling about what you want tells you how much you are in vibrational vicinity of getting it. Okay? And yes, there are occasions when you could be focused on it, on some subject or some aspect of it, which you very easily access, and you will be a vibrational match, but then it hasn't arrived yet and may completely throw the thing again. So every time you want something, it's a train going this way to what you want. And every time you have doubts or worry or you don't feel worthy or why hasn't it come yet, is a train going that way, pulling the train that's going this way backwards. So it's important to understand that you need to be a vibrational match. To be a vibrational match, you mustn't do so much, because it first manifests non-physically. Okay? And you need to be a vibrational match to the non-physical, to what's in your vortex. So you need to lower the resistance. To lower the resistance is you must stop worrying about it not being there yet, or all those other things. So to do that, Abram suggests that it's better to still the mind than to focus on what you want, because it's easier to still the mind, the doubts, than it is to, for 14 seconds or more, focus on what you want. So you still your mind, and as you still your mind, the vortex can speak to you easier, can start filling in the grid and say, go here, look at this, pick up this one, speak to that person about that now, this, etc. So then, because the mind is stiller, you get to hear what is suggested to fill in your grid from the vortex, and then you become a vibrational match, and then bang, it just manifests, and it's so exciting. So doing a focus wheel is one of the best exercises that I could recommend for somebody. There's an app called Focus Wheel on your phone.
Really? I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah. Somebody created it, and it's really nice. It's got the whole 1 to 12. You write what's in the middle, what you want. You write outside what you don't want, and then you fill in each individual slot with something that's vibrationally a little higher than the last one.
Very cool.
Okay. And then you go through that, and I still think the focus wheel is one of the best methods, because you're building up your vibration, and you can go through it again and again and again every day until you start feeling, okay, I feel vibrationally that this statement is more where I am at the moment. Oh, I feel this one. And as you go round the whole circle, you start seeing vibrationally where you are feeling comfortable with, and you can see the movement of how you start getting to the place of no resistance and really focusing on what you want. So, going back to your original question, do you just want to run it by me again so I can just finish this off?
You've been describing beautifully how the whole thing works. What I was trying to zero in on is very often it can be confusing about an idea comes to us, and is it truly an idea from the vortex from inside, an inspired idea, or is it something that I just kind of made up because I'm reaching for something? Okay, so how do you answer that? It's very easy. Does it feel positive emotion, or do you feel negative emotion about the thought? That is as simple as it really needs to get when you answer that kind of question. Because your emotional guidance is the guidance that comes from your vortex that is saying you're heading towards what you want, or you're heading away towards what you want with negative emotion. So if you're feeling good, you're heading in the right direction. It's more inspired. If you're feeling an aha moment, that is really inspired. Okay? But it's very likely to be new information, brand new. How would you define an aha moment? I mean, on the surface it sounds very straightforward, but I realize that can actually also be a source of confusion. So tell me about an aha moment.
Aha. Aha, you don't understand that. No, that's not an aha moment, by the way. aha moment is generally something that is a new idea to you. It is generally something that excites you. It will always be something that feels good to you. My mentor once said to me, Louis, because you're laughing at what I've just said, it means you agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, she said this to me. Now, always sat there and tried to puzzle this one out until Abraham Hicks. I never really fully understood what she was saying. But what she was saying is that when you're feeling good emotion, you are heading in the direction of what you want. And an aha moment is just very much that experience where you're getting new information, it feels good, and you're heading in the right direction to what you want. And yes, you can argue that it's confusing to understand what an aha moment is, and I don't really think it is. I think it's quite clear. I think when you really experience an aha moment, there's no doubt in your mind that this is an aha moment.
Yeah, I think so. The thing that I think differentiates an aha moment from other moments is literally the word enlightenment. When we think about enlightenment, it's almost like a light switch turns on in our minds.
Yeah.
And that's what an aha moment. Aha is where everything just gets a whole lot brighter and a whole lot clearer.
Yeah.
So when
there is a challenge with accessing the information from the vortex is usually, or quite often, and at least in my experience, the ideas that they've given to me, like I mentioned to you some time ago in a couple of podcasts, that I've been given this incredible idea, but I think it's so big I can't touch it. And I have been struggling with that, to be honest. It really is massive. And, if it's given to you, that means you can actually, you have the potential to manifest it. It wouldn't be given to you otherwise.
Yeah.
So, it's just blowing me away. And I'm filling in the grid of all the basic stuff first that I need to do before I even go there. So I'm getting all the bits and pieces together first. But you do tend to second guess that idea because of its massiveness, and you too tend to destroy it. So I tend to spend very little time on that, on the destruction side, because I'm aware of what I'm doing, and I spend more time reveling in the idea of how to benefit so many people and how I would enjoy having such a thing, because I could see how it could help other people. And I know that nobody does anything for any other reason because it makes you feel good. So it's not really for the other people. It's really because I'll feel good in helping you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get it clearer and clearer in your mind about how it all works, and then you just move forward step by step by step. Are there any more questions there, Walt? Or has anybody answered or mentioned anything? Sorry, I haven't managed to get this tablet working yet.
Oh, no, that's all right. I don't see any new questions in there. So I see a lot of thank yous, people saying that it's helping a lot. Maggie said in response to her question, I think it's just we agree, but we are using different descriptions. That may be true. I mean, that can certainly happen. But no other new questions.
Okay, cool.
But I did want to follow up on what you were talking about there, because you made a couple of really, really good points. And one of them I want to kind of hone in on is the idea that you do want to take the time to get excited and to really live the excitement of especially if it's a massive idea.
And why do you want to do that, Walt?
Oh, because you're building up the momentum of it. You're building up the vibration of it in a huge way.
And what does the universal law of attraction do with that?
With momentum? Well, it usually delivers it in some form. It delivers
whatever
it in
you're
some
thinking
way.
about, it'll amplify. That's why
it amplifies. Yes, right. So that's a really key portion of it. The other part, and you kind of hinted at it simultaneously, is the idea that you don't want to get into the negative side of it, the fear side of it, or the doubt side of it, or whatever. And Joel,
I wouldn't say you don't want to.
Well, all right.
I would love you to appreciate the negativity and understand why it's there.
I guess what I'm driving at is, if you want the thing to manifest, you want to spend more time on what it is that you want to manifest.
What you want, not what you don't want. Yeah.
Right. But fair point. But anyway, along that same line, Joel has a really nice approach, and you kind of touched on it too. And I want to see, what you have to say more about it. Which is that
I'm always interested in what Joel says.
Well, you say you don't really try to map everything out. If you do, you can drive yourself crazy. So instead what you do is you take the next step, like you said, the next logical step.
Next logical. Yeah.
And you don't worry about the fact that the map hasn't filled in yet. You don't worry about the fact that, you haven't figured out how the whole thing's going to work or, where the full path is or so forth. You just worry about the next 200 feet of headlight, and that's all you do. You just do the next 200 feet. And when you do, and you do it with the enthusiasm that you have for the project or for the thought or for the desire or whatever, then you are presented with the next 200 feet. And then the next 200 feet. And you just keep following that, and you eventually get there. So...
exactly.
I mean, and I think he actually made that point more for me in conversations I had with him because I have a tendency to do exactly the opposite of what I want, which is I tend to, worry out, well, geez, I mean, I have to figure all this stuff out. I have to come up with a budget. I have to figure out who's going to get involved and how I'm going to get them involved. And then I try to map that whole thing out and I drive myself crazy in the process. Whereas the better thing for me to do is just simply take the next step. Screw all that. Just take the next step.
So somebody said to me, to get my business up and running, I just worked with what was on my plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I kind of really got that. I was sitting in the seminar and listened to a lot of seminars, and not a lot of things made a lot of sense to me all the time, or was new to me. I think that's more accurate. Not a lot of things were new to me, but when they said that, I just worked with what was on my plate, it really struck a chord with me, and I was like, yeah. And because of the Abraham Hicks teachings, I now know it's the next logical step, and you just focused on doing where you're a vibrational match to, because if you're a vibrational match to it, it's quick, it's easy, it just falls in place, and the money just comes, and the things just manifest, and it's just beautiful. But so I'm just very, very intensely aware now that somebody invited me to a party, and I was wrestling with the whole thing, because one part of me was saying, I really enjoyed the last one and I'd really like to go, but the other part of me was saying, I'm feeling negative emotion about going. And, I enjoyed the last one and I actually enjoyed the company, but something's saying don't go. I'm feeling negative emotion about going to the event. And I was like, why am I struggling with all this? Why am I struggling with this? And it was really a big thing. And eventually I said, I've got to practice what I teach, and I'm going to follow my emotions, and I'm going to just not go to the party. It's just game over. and so, you make those choices now based on a different way than I used to. I would use my logic to work it out. Now I'm using my emotions to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very important distinction to now go with how you feel rather than how you're thinking about things.
It's not only an important distinction, it's also a new skill. For those of us who are always the planners and thinkers, following your feeling is a little disorienting and a little confusing. And
especially for us males, hey?
I'm not sure it's just males, but I think you're right. We have more of a tendency than the females do. But yeah, it can be quite disorienting. And there are times, you alluded to it a few minutes ago. You said, nothing wrong with feeling doubt, and you're right. But that is exactly what we often feel when we're trying to follow an emotion. Like, well, that can't lead anywhere good. It just doesn't feel good, So, okay, well, I don't go that way. But now what do I do?
Yeah,
I don't know what to do now.
Follow that rocket.
I don't know what to do next, and so we kind of get ourselves all wrapped up in I don't know, I can't, I don't, I won't, I can't, I don't know how. It's not a fun place to be.
It's not the best, no.
No. But on the other hand, that's what my day was yesterday, actually. Yesterday I had it all figured out. We're working on this, I don't know if you're aware of this, we're working on a fiction podcast idea. Alex King and I came up with this idea, and some of the other co-hosts have been helping us out with it. And we're to the point now we've developed our characters. We have a kind of a main story theme. We've figured in what our law of attraction aspect is going to be, all that kind of thing. And now it's come time to start writing the first episode. And I've been kind of composing it in my mind. So in a sense, I have been writing it.
Yeah. Sounds fantastic.
Oh, and I think it's going to be really, really good. But yesterday was the day to sit down and actually start writing it. You know how many words I wrote yesterday? 0. 0 words.
It wasn't the right day.
It was definitely not the right day. And what was even worse is that I was getting halfway through the day, and I thought to myself, I haven't written any words yet. Oh, jeez, I'm ruining this. And so, of course, that turned into more of a negative spiral. I can't get away with anything.
The chain of pain.
The chain of pain, right. But then I finally got to the point where I said, you know what? Today just wasn't the day to do it. I can do it tomorrow. And now, here we are doing the podcast. It's closing in on 9 o'clock here, New York time. And so we're about 10 minutes away from finishing the podcast. And once we do that, and I've got it posted and so forth, I feel a strong desire that I wasn't feeling yesterday to start doing that writing.
Then it's the right time.
And now it's the right time, yeah. But that's disorienting. If you're not used to that, that's a disorienting sequence.
Yeah.
And it takes a little doing to get used to it.
The way I find it flows beautifully for me is I use Dragon Dictate voice recognition. So,
yes.
Because, I'm terrible at spelling. And I love using highfalutin words, which I can't spell. So the voice recognition takes them and rambles them off with ease and perfection.
Yep.
And panache, and I can just ramble, and I love that. So,
I love that software too.
I love voice recognition for that.
Yeah. The Dragon software is really, really good. That's mine too. I love that one. Well, by the way, I took a look at the app that you were telling me about telling us about, the Focus Wheel app. That looks pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's very simple.
It's really nice.
It's very simple,
it is.
But and I got to play with it.
Doesn't need to be any more than that. No.
No, not really. But it's beautifully done, and I'm glad somebody did that. That's great.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So anybody who's listening in, check it out on your phone. Just do either in the Play Store or the App Store.
Apple as well.
Yeah, I have an iPhone. And it's on the Apple. So
you have an iPhone? Okay, yeah. No,
so it's on both.
It's on both.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's and I agree with you. Focus wheels are a wonderful way to develop your focus. That's why they're called focus wheels. This is a funny thing. There is a reason for calling them this.
It's really about chipping up your vibration and just going.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it was Jason earlier was asking about focus and about maintaining focus. Well, there's a great way to do it. Focus wheels.
It is.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about a focus wheel is you don't have to have just one. You can have as many as you want. And in fact, I don't know about you. I think it's better to do it.
Have one per subject that you want to improve on. Yeah.
Well, you could even do the same subject twice if it's really that important to you. Because all you're really doing is building up your vibration.
The great thing with this app is you don't have to rub anything out. You just rewrite the words, because I often find that when I'm writing it down, the words don't quite feel right, and I need to change even the small parts of the sentence. I just have to change the wording slightly.
Yep.
So I'm often doing editing on them as I go through them, and I thought, no, it will feel better if I change it slightly like that, and then it gets to the place where it really feels good, and I just go through it daily, and go through that focus wheel, and then the manifestations happen. It's just incredible. Focus wheel is good. It's a great tool. It's one of them. There's many guys. There's many tools.
Oh, tons of them. I mean, 22 of them just in the book that this one came from. Asking Her to Do This.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some very good ones in there, too. But I have to admit, I have done focus wheels before on paper, which is the way they originally, described doing it.
Yeah.
But there's something about doing it on paper that doesn't feel good to me. And I don't know what it is. So having it on app is like, I like this.
Well, for a lot of people, paper is good. But
it is.
Certain people like you and I that I think,
you have the same experience?
Yeah, I'm very much a digital person. It feels so much more comfortable to me.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but
the idea of actually writing my book with pen and paper.
Oh God,
rather kill myself.
Having been involved in 2 books, if I had to do either one of them with a pen and paper, none of them would have gotten written. It just would not have happened. Yeah. In part because my handwriting is so illegible, even I can't read it, and in part because
that's my problem too.
And in part because my hand cramps up after about 2 paragraphs, and you can't really write a book that way. So,
actually, I don't think I've had pen and paper in my hand for a long time. A long time. I think maybe to sign my signature somewhere.
Let's just say that when the PC first came along in the early 1980s, I was one of the happiest people in the world because I knew it would mean I would never have to write anything longhand for the rest of my life if I didn't want to. It was a good thing. Hey, we got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure I get in our messages. So if you're not yet a subscriber to the podcast, what are you waiting for? Just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. And we've actually simplified it, Louis. It has gotten to the point now where when you show up at the homepage, it detects what kind of device you have and then offers you the link for your device so that you don't even have to go looking for it. So if you're on an iPhone, Fantastic. It gives you a link for an iPhone. If you're on an Android, it gives you a link for an Android. And you just click that and follow it through. And bada bing, bada boom, just like that, you're subscribed and you're able to get it all. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Brilliant.
And of course, once you're a subscriber, make sure that you're sharing the fact that you're a subscriber with other people, particularly when you're enjoying an episode like this one, because that's how we spread the word. So subscribe and share. That's the tandem words around here. And be sure you do that because that's how we spread the word and help other people get their daily dose of happy. So we got about a little under 4 minutes left, 3.5 minutes left, something like that. First of all, is there anything that you want to tell us about, any announcements that you want to make about stuff going on that you're aware of? I mean, there doesn't have to be, but I always give other co-hosts who are coaches and so forth that opportunity.
Just that next week I will be promoting my website.
Aha!
So it's almost getting to the place where I'm happy.
Oh, okay.
So that's just the beginning. It's just where I'll say, quite happy about putting that together and enjoying that process at the moment. And I just want everybody to have a fantastic day and carpe diem, go get what you want, focus on it, manifest it.
That's always the thing, isn't it? Getting into that good feeling place and then just milking it for all it's worth. Hey, I wanted to also ask you something.
I love that word.
Isn't that a good word? Yeah, it's perfect. I wanted to ask you something along the lines of milking actually. We often talk about like the Abraham processes, different ways to refocus your mind and all that kind of thing. One thing that Steve Rowell and I talked about last week, and I've really started to get into it, is the idea of taking a past positive experience, something that felt really good, and then milking it to the point where you feel it as much or more as you felt it the first time around. In other words, not just remembering that you felt good, not just remembering that a wonderful thing happened, but actually living it again. Living it in your mind, turning it into, wow, it feels exactly the way it felt 30 years ago when I did that.
There's a small experience that happened to me. There was a strong wind blowing up the drive on the farm in South Africa, and it was very, very strong. And I was leaning forward at 45 degrees with my arms out in my in my overall camouflage overall, which I lived in as a young boy, and the 45-degree angle was something I was so keen about with the power of this wind and just holding my arms like that. And I relived that again and again because I really felt good then, and I really milked that. I milked that many times over. I loved it. And we've all got experiences like that in our past, and go back and milk them. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're definitely in favor of that, of the experience if you're milking that one over and over again. And that sounds like a fun one.
Yes.
That sounds like
it was a real fun one.
Yeah, and what I like about that most is that it doesn't have a whole long story. It's just the wind was blowing and you leaned into it, and that's it. Exactly. It was simplicity itself. I mean, that's fabulous. What a great, that's a memory that's almost easier to replicate. I mean, I was trying to replicate our wedding when Louise and I got married 20 years ago, and there were so many different pieces to it that it can almost be exhausting trying to piece the whole thing together. It's not like leaning into the wind where, oh, that's it, I'm done.
There's one thing that I'll never forget about my engagement is I did it at Victoria Falls, and I got married at Victoria Falls, but I bought this little ring made out of grass and things from a shop, and I bent down on one knee at the spray of the waterfall, and I gave it to my wife, and I said, will you marry me? And I just felt so good with that spray of the wind and then the waterfall spray on me and bending down on one knee. And it was cool.
What a nice way. That's a great way to wind up the podcast. That's just a good feeling right there. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again next week, which we do every Monday. Thank you also to our live stream listeners and to our regular podcast listeners. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Fantastic. Take care, guys. Bye.